Hey friends, what is up? It's C the Earthborn Primalist, and I have a really cool subject for you today. Barely a week goes by that I don't have someone reaching out to me asking, how do you increase mental strength? How do you improve mental resilience? How do you become stronger in your mind? And it's a really cool subject, and the good news is I have devoted my entire life to finding ways of increasing my mind and the strength in my mind more specifically. It's very much like a muscle, and it will take advantage of you every step of the way if you allow it. If you give it an inch, it will take a mile. But the thing is, you can also do certain things in your day to day life that will start improving that ironclad will and that strength in your mind. Now, I'm sure I get asked this question all the time, predominantly because I run ultra marathon, and that requires a lot of strength in the mind. You get to the point where the body doesn't want to go any further, it's tired, it's sore, it might not be working right, and you just have this, whatever it is on the inside, that keeps you moving forward. Now, when you add barefoot to that, barefoot protocols, and it's a whole different kettle of fish again. You've taken that layer of protection and absorption for the impact away, and before you know it, you're in a world of hurt, and you're doing it because it's a passion, you're doing it because you love it. But the fact of the matter is, it's still taking its toll on you, and you still have to have a very tight rein over your own mind. So, how do you get to that point? Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to share a couple of tips and tricks with you today. A couple of things that I do every single day that helps improve that strength and integrity of my mental resilience. And I'm also in the process of creating a small mini course that's going to get loaded onto the website. Once that's done, I'll shout out and let you know. But it'll be a course focusing specifically on mental resilience and how to create it. So, what are the tips and tricks? First and foremost, the way you start your day. And I'm not talking about morning routine because we've kind of covered that already. What I'm talking about is when your alarm goes off, you don't always necessarily want to get out of bed at that time. Am I right? I'm pretty sure I'm right. Imagine if you were to set your alarm even earlier than you needed to be up. Like you need to be up at 6:30. Imagine setting your alarm at 5:30. What would that do to you knowing that you had a full hour of sleep that you could still get, but you were choosing not to take it? Now, some of you are already doing this, and that is fantastic. Remember, this is a tip for people that want to improve that mental strength. If you need to be awake at 6:30 and you're already setting your alarm at 5:30, try setting it for 4:30. Shave 2 hours off your sleep time. See what happens. Now, sleep is important, and we will cover that. I'm not saying to sacrifice quality sleep. What I am saying is there is a period where in the morning, your mind, if you haven't gained strength over your mind, what's going to happen is it will start telling you stories when the alarm goes off. The alarm goes off, you know that it's a voluntary sacrifice of those sleeping hours. So, what happens at that point? Well, your mind starts telling you, I have a bit of a tickle in my throat. Wasn't feeling so well. The extra sleep's going to make me feel better. Okay, that's a story. I didn't get to bed until too late, and so I need the extra hour. It's going to make me feel more efficient today. That's definitely a story. I don't really need to get up and do this meditation, do this exercise, do this movement, go for this run. I don't need to do that. That's absolutely a story. And the thing with those stories is your mind is very convincing, especially in that you know early part of the day. So setting your alarm earlier than what you actually need to be awake is a very powerful way to start taking control of your mind. And there is a tip that you can use. Mel Robbins, leading author and coach, she actually developed what's referred to as the 5 second rule. Now, the 5 second rule is a very powerful tool for when you're in that position. Your alarm goes off, you've shortchanged your sleep by an hour, and you don't need to be up now, but you're choosing to do it anyway. Your mind kicks in with the stories. Oh, I don't need to be up. Oh, I need the extra rest. Oh, this, oh, that. At that point, count backwards from 5. As soon as you get to 1, go. And then you're out of bed. So you're giving yourself a 5 second grace to act. Literally, your mind is creating stories. You're just about to hit the snooze button and you say, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. And you're up. You don't hit snooze, you turn the alarm off, away you go. You're up, you're out. You're doing what you got to do. The more you do it, the stronger you start becoming in your mind. Your mind is an amazing servant. But when it's mastering you, oh, it's a terrible master. So that's why this is so important. What's the next thing I do to help control my mind? Breathwork practices. Sitting down when I'm would be rather when I would rather be doing any other thing, taking that quiet time to sit and focus on my breath. So many people in the modern day age are so busy, there's so much happening, so scattered. Trying to talk about meditation at this point is pointless. You're going to sit there and your mind's going to be going at 1,000,000 miles a second. So what's better than meditation? Sitting and doing breath work. It is the same thing. It's just a different label. But instead of trying to send your mind blank, instead of trying to focus specifically on a deity or a mantra or this or that, you're literally just working with your breath. Now you can, at this point, implement some breathwork changes and tips, like different techniques and stuff like that. You can do that well and truly at that stage. That's your focused, determined, dedicated time for sitting and doing breathwork. Your mind is still going to want to stray. It's still going to want to go and run about and do its thing. It's going to want to think about this. It's going to want to plan that. It's going to tell you, oh, I've got this good idea. Now you should jump up and start making notes. Just calm down. Let it go. Come back to that point of the breath. Whatever you're doing with it, whether it's just observational and you're just watching the breath come and go, casual observer, standing on the seashore, watching the waves crashing on the beach. Just that's what your breath is. Waves come in, waves come out. That's your breath, right? Whether you're doing that or whether you are facilitating change and turning yourself into a different system based on what you're doing with the breath. It's irrelevant. It doesn't matter. At this point, you come back to that. You come back to your technique. You come back to your observation. Your mind goes again. I've got to go check this out. Got to go pay these bills. Got to take care of this. If I don't do this right now, in this second, it's not going to get done. It's a story. Let it go. Come back to the point of center. Come back to the breath. Come back to the practice or come back to the observation of it. Very, very simple. That will start strengthening your mind by pulling the rein in on it, letting it know it's not in charge. And like a very disobedient dog that is running your household, it starts to learn. You are the master of your mind, not the other way around. One more tip. This is probably by far the most powerful way that I have gained control over my mind. Cold immersion. Now for me, I have a chest freezer full of freezing cold water. It sits at 37 degrees Fahrenheit. I think that's, like 3 or 4 degrees Celsius. That water is continuously controlled with a thermostat. So it stays within a degree of that range. Every morning I go into the garage, I do some breath work, I activate certain elements of my system, and then I hop in that freezing water. I sit in there. I sit there for 5 minutes, and I'm working my times up. But I get myself 5 minutes a day right now. I've come up from 3 minutes. You do it slowly, do it progressively. I'm not saying you need to go out and get yourself a chest freezer and fill it full of water and set it up with a thermostat and all that. Cold showers. Unless you're in Florida or Texas, cold showers probably work just fine. There are ways you can do this. You can fill a bath and put ice cubes in there. You can do whatever you like. But there's a couple of things. That immersion in the cold is going to have an almost visceral response inside of you. As soon as you touch that water, you're going to be, that's a response. Like physiologically, you can override that. Take a deep breath as you're going into the water, or as you turn the cold tap on, you step under it. Start exhaling. That long exhale takes you out of that sympathetic nervous system, fight or flight, which is what that does, and it puts you back into your parasympathetic nervous system. You are now in control. You're determining, I'm in a state of relaxation. Not only are you taking control of your mind in that moment, you are also completely rewriting your neurochemistry. You are creating brand new neural pathways in your mind. And your mind is becoming a very faithful servant the more you do that. A word of warning with the cold: it is a formidable force, as Wim Hof often says. Do it easily, no force. Do not force when it comes to this. Don't push yourself when it comes to this. Stay in it, and when you're at your limits, be aware of those limits, come out of it. Because bad things can happen if you push when you're working with elemental forces like the cold. If you try to force your way into the elemental world, whether it's heat, whether it's cold, doesn't matter. Things can go wrong very quickly. So, work with the elemental forces. This is a part of key number 3 of the 7 keys of self-mastery: conditioning. We are conditioning our body, we are conditioning our mind. Very, very powerful process. So, work with those things. Wake up earlier than you need to. If you still need to get that extra sleep, get it on the other end. Go to bed a little bit earlier if possible. Find ways to improve the quality of your sleep. Meditation and breath work before you go to bed is a powerful way of doing that. Right, so tack the extra time onto the end. The morning is the time where you'll get the most benefit over controlling yourself and your mind. It's when you don't want to be up. Your mind is telling you you need to be in bed. That's when you get up. That's when you take control. Breath work. Taking time to sit and work with your mind. This is a very direct approach to controlling the mind. Controlling it. Learning to control it. When it wanders, don't get angry at it. It's just doing what it does. It's probably a good thing that it's doing what it does, because if it didn't work, you'd be sitting there drooling, staring at the wall. So it's a good thing that it's doing what it does. It wants to think, it wants to plan, it wants to schedule, it wants to do all this stuff. When it does, in that moment that you're focusing on breath, whether it's technique or observation, come back to the breath. Bring it back. Thank you. Thank you, mind. You're a very astute mind. You're doing what you were given to me to do. You're thinking. But right now, this is where we're at. Right now, we're in the breath. We're going to stay here. And then it runs away again. Come back. Thank you for being such an astute mind. I'm grateful for you. But right now, we're at the breath. Keep doing that. Set your timer. Do it for 5 minutes. Do it for 15 minutes. Do it for 30 minutes. Do it for an hour. Start working with the cold. Cold showers are perfect way to start, especially coming into the winter. For those of you that, like myself, are in the Northern Hemisphere. Here in Florida, not so much. Further north, cold water coming out of the tap is perfect. Before you start your shower for the day, turn the cold tap on. Take a deep breath in. Slowly exhale as you step into that water. Take control of yourself and stay there for 30 seconds. Then turn it hot. Enjoy a nice hot shower. Then when you're done, turn it cold. Rinse off with the cold and out you get. Very powerful ways to start controlling your mind. And keep your eye out on my website, earthbornprimalist.com. I'm going to be releasing a full course on this shortly. So you'll be able to work with these techniques, but also a whole lot more. Have a beautiful day, and I'll see you soon.